Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. My best friend is jealous I married a rich guy. She invited me hiking, plotted against me, hoping to replace me, but things didn't go as planned. We both ended up falling off a cliff. When I woke up, we had both been reborn just before college graduation. My friend immediately ran to my husband-to-be from my past life, trying to win him over. She wanted to steal my life. I just shrugged and laughed. Since she's made her choice, she better not regret it. My husband, Tommy, is the illegitimate son of the chairman of K Group. After we got married, he was suddenly taken back into the family. Later, he even became the CEO of K Group, and I went from a regular worker to a glamorous socialite. On the other hand, my college roommate Joan was a renowned beauty at our school. With her stunning looks, she jumped into the entertainment industry right after graduation and got some fame through a talent show. Unfortunately, Joan was all looks. She couldn't sing, dance, rap, or act. In the entertainment biz, beautiful faces are a dime a dozen. Joan soon got lost in the crowd and faded out of the spotlight. Everyone says I lucked out marrying such a great husband. Joan couldn't get over my good fortune because back then Tommy liked her first. But Tommy was dirt poor at the time, so Joan didn't give him a second glance. When Tommy confessed to Joan, she not only turned him down but also humiliated him. Now Joan regrets everything. Using a college reunion as an excuse, Joan reconnected with me. She called me all the time, sweet-talking me. At first, I thought she wanted to use my connections to get back into showbiz, but it hit me. What she really wanted was my life. The day it happened, Joan asked me to go hiking. Near the top, she suddenly led me to a deserted cliff and shoved me hard. In a panic, I grabbed her ankle, pulling her down with me. When I woke up, I was in my college dorm room. Everything felt so unreal. Moments ago, Joan's vicious words rang in my ears. "Stella, go to hell. You don't deserve Tommy." Pain coursed through my body as I became aware. I realized it wasn't a nightmare. I had been reborn. Joan, all dressed up, asked, "Are you going on a date?" Suddenly, my roommate's voice pulled me back to reality. I turned to see Joan standing in front of the mirror. We locked eyes and she gave me a smug smile. A chill ran down my spine. It seemed Joan was reborn too. We were both back to our college days. Seeing me awake, Joan quickly left the dorm, so eager. Where is she off to? I grabbed my phone to check the time. Turns out today is just before our college graduation. Looking back, only one special event happened this day. Tommy confessed to Joan. At this point, no one knew his true identity. To all the classmates, he was just a poor student living on scholarships. I remember Joan complaining about him after they met. "You won't believe how ridiculous he is. He actually confessed to me." Hilarious. This time, however, Joan had dressed up specifically to meet Tommy. She had been gone a while, yet I could still smell her perfume. But then again, it makes sense. Last life, Joan thought I struck it rich by landing Tommy, the secret heir. I lived in luxury thanks to him. She thought that marrying Tommy meant a life of endless wealth and prosperity, so she rushed to see him, afraid I might beat her to it. Too bad she's wrong. Given this chance to relive life, I intend to make the most of it. This time I won't step into that mad, devouring world. The next day we graduated, and everyone was busy packing and heading toward their futures. After our other two roommates left, Joan finally ditched her fake niceness. She grabbed my hand, glaring at me fiercely. "Stella, I'm warning you, Tommy is my boyfriend now. Stay away from him or else I won't hesitate to kill you again. This time, I'll take back everything that's mine." Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Isn't it Joan who thought Tommy was too poor to be with? Back then, I didn't start dating Tommy until over 6 months after graduation. Now she makes it sound like I stole him from her. And all this everything that's mine nonsense. Does she think she's in a drama? I shook off Joan's hand and smiling asked, "Are you sure you really want to be with Tommy?" "Of course. I'm the only one fit for him. Only I can be the CEO's wife of K Group." Joan shouted excitedly. Seeing how determined she was, I nodded in satisfaction. Since she's made her choice, she shouldn't regret it. With that, I grabbed my suitcase and left the dorm without looking back. I knew a new life awaited me, and I'd been longing for this day for ages. 2 years after graduation, I became a jewelry designer. My latest creation won first prize at an international competition. earning me a sizable prize. I used the prize money as seed capital to start my own studio. It was a long-held dream of mine back in my last life. Because of deliberate suppression from Tommy's family, those first 2 years were incredibly tough for us. Forget dreams when you can barely get by day to day. Everything else is just a fantasy. Turns out they always knew about Tommy, the illegitimate son, but they never meant to acknowledge him or bring him back. I only learned the truth after surviving countless ordeals in my last life. It all came crashing down in the 3rd year after our graduation. Tommy and I were already married by then. Those 3 years were full of struggles, but I never thought much of it. I just blamed bad luck until the day Tommy got fired. They accused him of maliciously leaking company secrets and selling crucial documents to a rival corporation. I knew right off that this was impossible. I knew Tommy too well. He's been a straightforward, timid guy since school days. He'd never have such nerve. No matter how much I asked, Tommy wouldn't tell me what really happened. The leak caused massive losses for the company. The boss of the company held a grudge. He hired someone to set our house on fire in the middle of the night. We were almost burned to ashes. Tommy and I rented this old, run-down, tiny apartment. The surrounding area was pitch dark. Not a single security camera around. The police investigated all night but didn't find a shred of evidence, so all the losses fell on Tommy and me to cover. Property here is crazy expensive, and even a rundown place can cost an arm and a leg. I'll never forget that morning. It was freezing cold, and Tommy and I sat on the rooftop in ragged pajamas, broke as a joke. Tommy smoked 8 cigarettes in half an hour. Then with a hoarse voice he said to me, "Stella, I'm sorry. I really don't think we can make it through this. Maybe we should just jump together." "Tommy, you're such a coward." Back then I thought Tommy was easygoing and honest, which is why I chose to date and marry him. Later I saw right through him. He's just a coward, weak and spineless. When things go wrong, he just wants to escape, even seeking death as a way out. I immediately turned to him, giving him a piece of my mind. Finally, under my grilling, Tommy confessed everything to me, including his illegitimate child status and all those messy family dramas. Only then did I finally understand. The reason I've had such a rough time these past few years is that I've been on the wrong side of the big players. Actually, Tommy wasn't even the one who leaked the confidential documents. It's just that someone wanted it to be him. Thinking back to everything that happened before really shakes me up, but mostly I feel relieved. Now I don't have to deal with all that drama. Someone else is dealing with it for me. Thinking about Joan and Tommy living in that rundown place, bickering over every small thing, cheers me up a lot. I stand by the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the lit-up night scene. Suddenly, a flash of fire catches my eye. I thought I was seeing things, but no, focusing on it, I see it's real. A building a few blocks away is on fire. On TV, there's Tommy and Joan again. Reporters are doing a live broadcast from the block where the fire is. There they are, caught on camera arguing fiercely behind the reporter. What a spectacle! The fire from my past life happened earlier. This time, I quickly hop in my car to go check it out. This kind of drama doesn't happen every day, but the closer I get to the burning building, I start losing interest in the show. A huge fire is consuming the entire apartment complex. Its light brightening the night sky that should have been dark. This fire is way worse than the one before. Several police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks crowd the narrow old street. It's packed. People are everywhere, their faces covered in soot, shivering in the cold with only their thin pajamas on, just like me in the past. I hear a group of older women talking nearby. What a tragedy! The whole home's gone. What am I gonna do now? They definitely have to pay up. If it weren't for that couple making a racket late at night, none of this would have happened. One of the women angrily points down the street, cursing. I follow her finger and spot 2 familiar faces. Joan is angrily berating Tommy, who just hangs his head, saying nothing. Joan, who was kind of a minor celebrity in the past, used to live the high life. Now she's stuck with Tommy in this miserable situation. I guessed right. Her sweet and gracious act wasn't going to last. I lean in to ask the lady who was speaking, "What do you mean this fire is related to that couple?" "You don't know? That couple's been arguing ever since they moved here. It's all that woman's fault. Always screaming at him, and boy, the words she uses. Today's mess was caused by their fight. I lived next to them and heard the woman say it herself. She said if he didn't take her back to his family, She'd set a fire and they'd all die together. That poor guy, he seems decent enough. But how'd he end up with such a nasty woman? Joan, a once adored screen idol, now a villain in the eyes of the neighbors. This is the life Joan chose. When the neighbors mention going back to her family, they probably mean Tommy's family. Looks like Joan is pushing Tommy to take her to his family. She can't handle this tough life and is forcing Tommy to take her back so she can live in luxury. After 2 years, Joan still dreams of marrying rich. Delusional, with someone as spineless as Tommy, there's no way he'd even get through his family's door. Joan, long time no see. If you're here for the drama, you might as well get the full scoop. I walk straight up to Joan, standing right in front of her. She's in a tattered nightgown, and I'm wearing a warm, clean wool coat. When she sees me, Joan almost loses it. She lunges at me like a wolf, grabbing my collar tight. Stella, you ruined me. What did you do? Why is everything so different now? Her eyes are blood red with rage, glaring at me as violently as when she pushed me off the cliff in the past life. She blames me, thinking I did this to her, but everything happening today is because of her own choices. Everything is just like before. She just doesn't know enough. I don't answer her, just point at my collar and say coldly, "You dirted my coat. You owe me for that." At the mention of money, Joan reflexively lets go. She looks at my stained collar, laced with the soot from her hands. Joan gulps nervously, avoiding my eyes. Seems like these 2 tough years have really changed her. Stella, I'm begging you. Please tell me when Tommy's family will come for us. Joan pulls me aside to a quieter corner. Just moments ago, she was yelling at me. Now she's begging, trying to act all different. She has no clue how Tommy went back to his family in the last life. She thought that as long as she married Tommy, she could sit back and wait for a fancy car to take her to a mansion. I felt bad for her, so I decided to tell her everything straight up. Joan, wake up. His family isn't coming to pick you up. Tommy is actually the son Mr. Robert had with his first love back in the day. Mr. Robert ditched his wife and kid for a better future and chased after his boss's daughter, who is now Mrs. Teresa. Later on, Tommy's family got rich. Mrs. Teresa was afraid Tommy and his mom would try to claim the family fortune, so she sent people to secretly watch them for years. Tommy's mom had a hard time raising him alone, and this constant surveillance made life even tougher. Pretty soon she got sick and died. Before she passed, she told Tommy everything and urged him to steer clear of his father's family. But Tommy, being young and hot-headed, wouldn't listen. He was determined to prove himself and got into college. Here on day 1 in the city, he marched into his family's company, demanding to see Mr. Robert. Tommy thought once Mr. Robert knew the truth, he'd have his back and punish the ones who caused his mother's death. But he was way too naive. Sure, Mrs. Teresa was responsible for a lot of bad things, but none of it would have happened without Mr. Robert turning a blind eye. Wait, are you saying Mr. Robert knew everything Mrs. Teresa did and just didn't care? Exactly. No, that can't be right. Joan's face turned ashen as the truth hit her. She put up with a difficult life with Tommy for the past couple of years just to marry into money. But now that dream was shattered, and what was left was a wreck they both had to deal with. Behind them, the whole building burned down, leaving them with a debt they couldn't pay off in several lifetimes. Stella, you must be lying. In another life, you guys were taken back home. They even made Tommy the CEO. Joan refused to face reality. She grabbed my hand and kept asking if there was something I wasn't telling her. Can you teach me what to do? How can Tommy get back into his family? Joan finally wised up. After all this mess, she realized that in another life, it wasn't me riding Tommy's coattails to success. It was Tommy who needed me. Without me, he couldn't have made it through the chaos of his family to become the CEO. Joan anxiously begged me for help. Right now, I'm her last hope. She desperately wanted me to save her, just like back when she wanted me to fall at the cliff's edge. Looking at her pitiful state, I frowned. Let me warn you, once you go through that door, there's no coming out alive. Joan, you better think things through. I thought it through. I know what I want. Stella, help me. For the sake of our old friendship, you have to save me. If I can't get back in, I'm doomed for life. Joan answered without hesitation, not having heard a word of my advice. Seeing her now, I was reminded of myself in another life. Back then, I thought going back was my only way to survive. even knowing what awaited me behind that door. With things as they are, there wasn't much left to say. I told Joan if she wanted his family to accept her back, there was only one way. Use public opinion. His family's company is a big deal now. What's the most important thing to these high society types? Reputation. As long as Tommy's identity gets out to the world, his parents, no matter how unwilling, will have to take him back. Mr. Robert wouldn't want his dirty laundry aired for all to see, and Mrs. Teresa wouldn't want the bad stepmom label. In another life, I used this tactic to force them to open their doors to Tommy. Now I told Joan the same, not out of sympathy, but because I knew the real suffering would begin the moment she set foot in that house. 3 days later, a video went viral. In it, Tommy and Joan were kneeling at the entrance of his family's company, tearfully accusing Mr. Robert of abandoning Tommy's mom. "Dad, Mom has been with you since she was 18. How could you leave her like that? Look at Tommy, he's your own son. Can you really leave him out on the streets without shelter? Dad, I'm carrying Tommy's son, your grandchild. Even if you don't care about us, don't let your grandchild suffer." I must admit, I underestimated Joan's acting skills. When push came to shove, she put on a performance worthy of an Oscar. After all, Joan once dabbled in the entertainment industry. She knew how to leverage public opinion well. She even hired some gutsy paparazzi to blend in with the crowd to film and post the video online. Joan cleverly rode that wave of publicity. Overnight, Mr. Robert's scandal of abandonment topped the trending lists on major platforms. K Group took a huge hit. Stock prices plummeted. To save face, K Group's official website released a statement. Overnight, they held a press conference. Mr. Robert, looking deeply saddened in front of all the reporters, insisted that he never abandoned Tommy and that it was all just a tragic misunderstanding. "Tommy, I've been looking for you everywhere all these years. Come back to your dad. I'll do everything I can to make it up to you." Just as Joan wished, that family finally sent for her and Tommy, bringing them back in grand style. In the first few days, because the whole family reunion drama was such a hot topic, they practically treated Tommy and Joan like royalty, catering to their every whim. Every day, Joan updated her life as a rich lady on some social media platform. Sometimes she'd post over 10 times a day, and every post was about luxury cars, watches, and bags. Most of the comments praised her, expressing envy. Some folks even said Joan was beautiful and lucky, like she'd been cast as the leading lady in a CEO romance story. Of course, there were those who couldn't stand her flaunting wealth and tried to troll, but those comments disappeared quickly. Just my luck, that day I happened to scroll by Joan's video and looked up to see her right in front of me. I walked into the elevator, and there they were, Joan and Tommy standing side by side. Joan saw me, frowned nervously, then looked away, pretending I wasn't there.
I glänzt over her Designer-Outfit.
"Congratulations, your dream came true, living the rich life and all. You happy?" Hearing that, Tommy looked at me puzzled. Back in school, we didn't have much interaction, and now it seemed he didn't remember me at all. Staring blankly, seeing him looking at me, Joan instantly became displeased. Like a mama hen, she pulled Tommy behind her, glaring at me fiercely. "Stella, you..." Joan didn't finish her sentence before the elevator doors opened. I didn't plan to waste time with her and stepped out, but Joan wouldn't let it go and chased after me. "Stop right there," she shouted. I ignored her and kept walking. Joan caught up quickly and suddenly snatched my bag. Before I could react, she dumped everything out. Phone, sunglasses, wallet, all over the floor. I frowned. "Joan, what are you doing? My necklace is missing. I think you stole it." Joan raised her voice, drawing a crowd around us. I couldn't comprehend what Joan was up to now. I sighed. "What do you want exactly?" "Nothing much, just want to make sure you didn't take my stuff," Joan said as she nudged the items on the floor with her foot. Then she pretended to smile. "Looks like it wasn't you. My bad." Childish. Her petty revenge was seriously annoying. Yet she seemed to enjoy it. As I bent down to pick my stuff up, she crouched down next to me. She lowered her voice and smirked. "If you're not happy, you can report me, but who do you think the police will side with? Stella, check out who I am now. You can't compete with me. Know your place. Don't go after things that aren't yours, or else you'll pay the price." If Joan had a tail, it would be sky high right now. Seeing her smug look, I actually found it sad. I kindly advised her. If I were you, I'd be more low-key. After all, what you have now could disappear any moment. With all my heart, I was showing her pity because she was being so foolish, but Joan seemed to misunderstand my intentions. She thought I was cursing her. She was livid, her face turning ashen while she gritted her teeth and threatened me. Stella, don't think that just because you helped me once, I'll be grateful forever. I took back what's mine. You better behave. If I find out you still have thoughts about Tommy, I won't let you get away with it. To me, getting rid of you is as easy as squashing an ant. After all that's happened, Joan hadn't changed a bit. She's still the same arrogant and brainless. Sometimes I really want to open up her skull and see if her brain is just water sloshing around in there. She doesn't even realize the danger looming right over her head. Relax, I have no interest in your husband. I chuckled, unfazed by Joan's threats. Enjoy it while it lasts. Those good days won't be around much longer. Less than a month later, the family reunion hype completely died down. Joan's social media engagements visibly dwindled, and she posted fewer videos until one day I saw her latest video. A noticeable bruise appeared on her arm as she flashed by the camera. I knew her nightmare had just begun. A few days later, I ran into Joan again at an upscale club. I was meeting a client for business and stepped out to pick someone up in the dimly lit hallway. Joan was being dragged into a private room by a few men. Curious, I followed and peered through the room's glass door. To my shock, Joan was sitting on an older man's lap while he took liberties with her. Even though she looked like she was resisting, she didn't actually fight back. Her thin dress was all, most being torn up to her waist. I frowned. If I recall correctly, Joan had mentioned in a video that she was pregnant, but here she was downing drinks like water, not at all like someone expecting. As I puzzled over this, another familiar face appeared in the room. Carter. How in the world did he end up here with Joan? Seeing him sent chills down my spine. At that moment, everything clicked into place for me. That night, my mind was a total mess. After signing the contract with a client, I couldn't wait to leave. The female assistant with me was on the same route, so she asked me to wait for her by the restroom. I paced back and forth, feeling strangely uneasy. Then someone staggered out of the restroom and collided with me. Quickly caught her. When I looked closer, I realized it was Joan, but she looked nothing like her old self. Her over-the-top makeup was smeared, her hair a mess with disgusting vomit in it. Her dress was clearly torn, exposing bruises on her arms and shins. Joan looked up at me. When she recognized my face, she abruptly pushed me away. "Why are you here?" she stammered nervously, trying to hide her dishevelment. I got straight to the point and asked her, "Did Carter bring you here? You're talking nonsense." "I don't understand," she snapped. "Tommy's coming to pick me up soon. Get lost." Joan, wobbling on her heels, walked away. As she turned around, I noticed several burn marks on her back from a cigarette, which immediately caught my attention. Watching her go, I couldn't help but sigh. "Joan, do you regret it?" I asked calmly. She froze upon hearing that. After a moment, as if trying to prove something, she turned around and waved her wrist at me. "Regret? Why should I regret? Look, it's the bracelet Tommy gave me yesterday. It's the latest design by the famous jewelry designer Stella. Someone as poor as you could never afford something like this in your lifetime." The pearl bracelet on Joan's wrist was indeed pretty, but I wouldn't spend money on it because I designed it myself. It was a promotional gift for my new brand's launch. A few hundred of these bracelets were being given out daily at malls, yet it became Joan's only source of pride to boast about, and I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. That night I had a nightmare. In the dream, a disgusting man reeking of alcohol barged into my room and climbed onto my bed. He tore up my pajamas, took liberties with me, and humiliated me. I tried desperately to resist and struggle, but my limbs felt nailed down, unable to move. I opened my mouth to scream for help, but no sound came out. The man's rough palm covered my mouth and nose, making it hard to breathe. I don't know how long it took, but just before the suffocating agony completely destroyed me, I screamed, "Help me!" and woke up. My mind gradually returned to rationality. In the darkness, I turned on the light, confirming I was safely in my bedroom. At that moment, I was incredibly grateful. After a while, one day while sketching designs, I got a call from an unknown number. "Stella, I could see you." It was Joan's voice, sounding a bit rough. I arranged to meet her at a cafe in a bustling area despite the scorching weather. Joan wore long sleeves and pants with a scarf wrapped around her neck. As soon as she spoke, her eyes reddened. "Stella, you have to save me. I regret it. I really do." She reached out to grab my hand tightly, and shockingly, all her fingernails were gone. I gasped. "What happened?" I asked her. "Haven't you guessed it? It's Carter, that pervert. He won't let me go." Carter. If I had to pick the most revolting among the family, he would be it. Outwardly, he seemed like a refined heir of K group, but deep down he was a genuine creep. He was a womanizer. In the past, as far as I knew, almost none of the maids working in his household could escape his clutches. As Carter grew more discontent after his brother Jack entered showbiz, Carter often had Jack introduce female stars to him. Mr. Robert and Mrs. Teresa, long accustomed to their son's antics, not only did nothing but even aided him. Each time they cleaned up after Carter's mess, Carter, the devil in human skin, just carried on his evil deeds unchecked. Joan had a naturally great appearance. I had always known that once she moved into that family, Carter would never let her go. What I didn't expect was that Joan not only didn't resist but even actively cozied up to him, thinking he genuinely liked her. With everything crumbling at this point, Joan spilled everything to me. "Tommy is such a wimp. He's got no future, obviously. He's a young master but lives worse than a servant. I couldn't stand living like that anymore," she cried. Later, Carter approached me, gave me gifts, took me on dates, and I honestly thought he was serious about me. He was nice at first but soon got bored. He started passing me around to his friends and clients. To him, I wasn't even a person, just a tool to win favors. Joan cried, her tears falling into the coffee cup and disappearing. What she said was almost identical to what I had guessed. I felt no sympathy for her. With a jerk like Carter, women were just toys for amusement, and Joan willingly threw herself at him. It baffled me how she didn't realize her stupidity sooner. All of this was her own choice. It was her own doing. I sipped my coffee and asked Joan, "Weren't you pregnant? What happened to your baby?" At the mention of it, Joan cried harder. While sobbing, she spoke, barely comprehensible through her tears. "The baby's gone. It's all Carter's fault." She suddenly gripped my hand again, her eyes red and desperate. "Stella, please help me. You know Carter, that jerk. He's not even human. Look at what he and his cronies have done to me. If this continues, I'm going to die." I saw true despair in Joan's eyes. If she wasn't truly desperate, she'd never beg for help like this. But unfortunately, she was going to be disappointed this time. "I can't save you. Haven't you heard that saying? You make your own bed, now lie in it." I pulled my hand away coldly. Hearing my response, Joan's sorrowful expression deepened. Her expression turned vicious. She wiped her tears away, glaring at me fiercely. "Stella, who are you trying to fool here? Don't act like you're all high and mighty. I bet Carter's had his way with you too, right? You live under the same roof with that psycho. No way he'd let you off." Joan shouted, not caring that others could hear her. Instantly, people at nearby tables turned to look at us. Her words were like sharp knives jabbing at my heart. They weren't fatal, but they opened a wound I'd rather not revisit. Those awful memories came rushing back, and I clenched my fists. Yeah, that nightmare was real. It all truly happened in my past life. Just a month after Tommy and I moved home, Carter turned his dirty hands on me. He had the maid drug my evening drink and assaulted me. To this day, those events remain a nightmare I dare not revisit. But now Joan had ripped that barely healed scar wide open. Hit the nail on the head, huh? Joan laughed as if my shared misery brought her some comfort. I found it pitiful. After a brief pause, I spoke, my voice steady. "Joan, you want to get away from Carter, right? I can give you another way." "Really? What way?" Joan's eyes lit up instantly. Knowing Carter, he must have some dirt on Joan, forcing her to obey him. There was only one way Joan could break free in this situation. "If he dies, you're free." I wasn't joking. After what happened in my previous life, I truly wanted Carter dead. But I didn't succeed. Still, I did manage to destroy his manhood with scissors. Carter ended up in ICU for a week, almost losing his life. Mr. Robert and Mrs. Teresa, after some deliberation, decided to keep things quiet. They weren't stupid. They knew too well the damage a scandal could cause K Group. So even though Carter lost an important part of himself, their family's reputation remained intact. Thinking back on my past life, I still felt fear. In those circumstances, I had to tread carefully, or it could have been catastrophic. Compared to that, my current life felt like paradise. At least I no longer had to sleep with one eye open. After that day at the cafe with Joan, I didn't hear from her for a long time. Her accounts on several platforms stopped updating, like she disappeared off the face of the earth. Then, 3 months later, my studio got a big order. The chairman of K Group and his wife were hosting a wedding anniversary party and wanted me to design jewelry for Mrs. Teresa. After all these years, I stepped into that house again. Everything was both unfamiliar and familiar. Mrs. Teresa welcomed me warmly, but looking at her face made me feel uneasy. Once I got the necessary details about the party, I excused myself to leave. Before leaving the villa, I pretended to be a fan of Joan on social media and asked the maid, "Where did Mrs. Joan go? It's been a while since she updated her videos." Her response shocked me. "Oh, she went crazy." The maid didn't hesitate to explain. She was always a little off after her miscarriage. She really lost it. Last month, she tried putting pesticide in Carter's coffee. Almost got him killed. And what happened after? Obviously, she was sent to a mental hospital. You can't keep a dangerous woman like that at home. The maid described Joan's madness, mimicking her gestures. She kept saying Carter hit her and burned her with cigarettes. But Carter doesn't even smoke. Those bruises? She did them herself. She was always screaming at Tommy, calling him a coward, blaming him for not saving her. Poor Tommy. How did he end up with someone like that? Joan had gone mad. The family didn't even bother to hide it. They sent her to a mental hospital, saying she went crazy after her miscarriage. It was their version of the story, but to the outside world it was the truth. People only hear what the powerful allow them to hear. On the day of the anniversary party, Mrs. Teresa sent me an invite. I didn't go. Instead, I went to another place. In a mental hospital on the outskirts, I saw Joan for the last time, disheveled and emaciated. She was a shadow of the once dazzling idol she used to be. No one but me would ever know she was once a superstar. I tried calling her name. "Joan." She didn't respond at first, but as I got closer, her eyes widened like she recognized me. She lunged at me. "Stella, you remember me?" "Stella, I regret it. I regret it. Please help me. I'll give Tommy back to you. I don't want him anymore." Joan suddenly dropped to her knees before me, clutching at my clothes, tears streaming down her face, repeatedly expressing regret, begging me to save her. These words, I was tired of hearing them. Back when there was still time, I tried to warn her with good intentions, but Joan plunged into a dead-end path without hesitation. Now she's knee-deep in the mess, and no one can save her. 3 years later, K Group's financial issues got anonymously reported, revealing a massive tax evasion scandal. Its top dogs, Mr. Robert and Mrs. Teresa, were investigated for criminal activities. Meanwhile, a popular actress exposed Carter and Jack for coercive acts and wild parties. Not long after, K Group declared bankruptcy. Aside from Tommy, the entire Robert family ended up behind bars. The day this hit the news, I visited the psychiatric hospital again, but I couldn't see Joan. The doctor told me she passed away from AIDS early that morning. As I was leaving the hospital, I bumped into someone I knew. "You're Joan's friend." I turned around. Tommy was standing close by. He looked worn out, like he'd been through a lot. He walked over, noticed the flowers I was holding, and said dejectedly, "Thanks for visiting her, but she's gone now. If you had been braver, like a real man should be to protect her, she might not have died." I said, looking squarely at Tommy. My words stunned him. He didn't get why I was saying that. He couldn't grasp that it wasn't for Joan. It was for me. Back then, the most heartbreaking thing for me wasn't when my house burned down, or when Carter assaulted me. It was when Tommy, my husband at the time, upon hearing about what Carter did, told me, "Stella, let's just bear it. You know I can't take them on. I know this is hard for you, but Dad said if you let it go, he'll make me CFO at headquarters. Plus, you got Carter hospitalized, right? Take that as your revenge. So how about we just drop this?" "Drop it?" As my husband, he asked me to just drop it after I was wronged. Is there anything more despairing than that? In that moment, the only thought in my mind was divorcing Tommy and getting the hell out of that living nightmare. But I refused to accept that. Plus, I knew leaving the Robert family would mean Carter could easily retaliate. I'd be defenseless and have nothing, so I decided to stay low and plot my comeback. To keep me quiet, Mr. Robert offered Tommy executive roles at K Group headquarters. Gradually, by securing projects Carter couldn't, Tommy gained more of Mr. Robert's favor, a fact that clearly displeased Mrs. Teresa. So the night before Tommy's promotion to VP, someone tampered with our car. They aimed to end us. Little did they know, ever since Carter's setup, I've been sleeping with one eye open. I checked the car carefully before each use. I found issues with the brakes but kept silent. I orchestrated the same fate for Mrs. Teresa and her 2 sons. On Tommy's promotion party day, Mrs. Teresa and her sons got into a fatal car accident. Mrs. Teresa and Carter died instantly. Jack was left paralyzed and blind in one eye. Mr. Robert couldn't handle the shock and suffered a heart attack. Unluckily, he forgot his meds that day. Struck by severe illness, he stayed bedridden with Tommy faithfully by his side. Soon, touched by Tommy's devotion, Mr. Robert promoted him to K Group president. Fueled by guilt toward me, Tommy obeyed me in everything. With him in control, I quickly took over as the real power behind the Robert empire. Tommy became my puppet, and I planned to cut all ties after claiming Robert's riches. Unexpectedly, Joan's sudden appearance derailed my plans halfway. Now, with everything different, I sometimes feel grateful to Joan. If not for her misguided actions, I might still be trapped in a cycle of revenge. In this life, I found my passion and am far from the treacherous mind games. I'm living so freely now. Looking at Tommy, I no longer hate him as much. Under his puzzled gaze, I walked away. With no more Robert family, he'll have to return to a modest lifestyle. As far as I know, the Robert family never settled the debt for that apartment block incident with Joan. Before their arrest, Mr. Robert and Mrs. Teresa amassed quite a lot of debt too. They say sins of the father. It looks like Tommy's second half in life won't be a cakewalk. But none of that concerns me anymore. I'm off to my book launch event.